In another setback for Rockstar Games, the source code of GTA 5 reportedly leaks online, alongside files related to Bully 2 and GTA 6. This incident comes after initial reports last year hinted at a partial leak of GTA 5's source code. Rockstar Games has faced a tumultuous year, grappling with a series of security breaches that have marred its operations. Last year, the company was rocked by a network intrusion, leading to the unauthorized release of nearly an hour's worth of gameplay from the much-anticipated Grand Theft Auto 6. The situation worsened recently when plans for a grand trailer reveal were upended by another leak which forced the developers to officially release the trailer early. Now, it appears that Rockstar Games is confronting an even more daunting challenge with this latest leak. It has been reported that the leak involved a 4 GB file predominantly comprising code, yet a complete version encompassing the entire source has not been observed. This extensive source file, which includes assets and 3D models, would likely enable the construction and execution of the game. Given the substantial size of the full source, which is rumored to be around 200 GB, its leakage appears to be less straightforward. Despite the original link being removed, the source code has already begun circulating widely across various social media platforms. Meanwhile, Take-Two Interactive is reportedly actively working to remove online links to the Grand Theft Auto 5 source code. Despite these efforts, there are emerging reports of hackers deliberating over the potential release of this extensive 200 GB source file. This incident is believed to stem from the same security breach that occurred last year, with the key difference being that the files have only now been made public. The leak not only involves GTA 5 but also encompasses files from the long-awaited, yet unrealized, Bully 2, and portions of code from GTA 6. It's since been confirmed that GTA 6 was at one point codenamed Project Americas, something that was reported by Bloober prior, and that a file pertaining to Bully 2 was contained within this folder. Many concept arts for Bully 2 has also been revealed. Further details on both games have yet to be discovered. Additionally, the leak exposes several unreleased DLCs, including the GTA 5 Trevor expansion which was highlighted in previous leaks as well. Also unearthed is a map from a project known as Agent, a cancelled endeavor rumored to draw inspiration from the James Bond franchise. Single-player DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5 has always been a huge point of contention among the game's community. Some prefer the focus on the game's online portion, while others are disappointed that the adventures of Trevor, Franklin, and Michael were never followed up on, especially given the quality of Grand Theft Auto 4's DLCs, The Lost and Damned and The Ballad of Gay Tony. There were plenty of storylines that would have made great Grand Theft Auto 5 single-player DLC, but with the recent announcement of Grand Theft Auto 6, it seems it will always remain one of gaming's great what-ifs. As reported by Insider Gaming, the leak of Grand Theft Auto 5 source code includes references to 8 single-player DLC expansions for the game, which were cancelled in favor of further updates to GTA Online. While the leak has uncovered plenty of early assets for the game, this discovery is arguably the most interesting of all. After the release of Grand Theft Auto 5 in 2013, Rockstar spoke openly in blog posts about plans for single-player DLC, but no official announcement was ever made about specific content. This shows that huge plans were in motion at one point in time. Grand Theft Auto 5 cancelled single-player DLCs are SP Assassination Pack, SP Manhunt Pack, SP Norman Pack, Agent Trevor, Relationship Pack, Enterprise Pack, Prologue DLC, and Liberty V DLC. Some of the names of the cancelled single-player DLCs stand out instantly. The Prologue DLC may have seen players go back in time to explore what happened in the lead-up to the game's iconic prologue, while Liberty V implies that players would have been on their way to Liberty City for another adventure. As recently as last year, Liberty City DLC has been rumored for GTA Online. While this is yet to come to fruition, these leaks suggest that some of the work has already been done on Liberty City over the past decade. Agent Trevor is the only overt reference to the trio of protagonists, but it would be surprising if Franklin and Michael were not involved in the previous DLC plans. There's a nod to SP Manhunt Pack, which, and this is a reach, might have been some kind of crossover from Rockstar's gory 2003 game of the same name. Fans of the series and myself are disappointed in the decision to release no single-player DLCs. Rockstar has a long history of strong storytelling, and some of that is inherently lost with multiplayer content. Additionally, there were some ancient files for what appears to be a scrapped GTA Tokyo game for the PlayStation 2. For many, the PS2 era was a golden age for the franchise, with spin-off games like Vice City and San Andreas being fondly remembered to this day. There appears to have been a GTA Tokyo game planned as well in this lineup of spin-offs, although it seems it didn't make it far past the early stages of development. It's really a shame all of these content and new games getting cancelled in favor of these live service online updates. Speaking of GTA, Arion Kurtage, the hacker responsible for leaking Grand Theft Auto 6 clips, has been sentenced to an indefinite hospital order. Following the controversy surrounding the Grand Theft Auto 6 cyber attack by the hacker group Layoffs, the judge overseeing the case cited Kurtage's ongoing risk to the public and made a decisive ruling. In December, the GTA 6 trailer was leaked, unveiling a lot of details about the highly anticipated action-adventure game developed by Rockstar. The game is set in the fictional state of Leonida, inspired by Florida. This new GTA installment breaks tradition by introducing Lucia, the first female lead character in the franchise. Before the GTA 6 trailers leak a day before its official release, Rockstar was a victim of a hacker attack caused by Arion Kurtage, a member of the hacker group called Layoffs. As reported by BBC, 18-year-old hacker Arion Kurtage, affiliated with the international hacker gang Layoffs, has been given an indefinite hospital order for his role in leaking Grand Theft Auto 6 clips. Kurtage was deemed a high risk to the public by the judge, who emphasized his cybersecurity skills and demonstrated desire to engage in cybercrime. Psychiatry revealed that he continued to express the intent to return to cybercrime as soon as possible. He is highly motivated. In July, a group of psychiatrists declared this GTA 6 hacker unfit for trial due to autism. However, the hacker couldn't escape any punishment, and this particular sentence will keep him in a secure hospital unless doctors determine he no longer poses a danger. Kurtage's cyber exploits involve using an Amazon Fire Stick to breach the Rockstar Games database while on bail, resulting in 90 stolen clips of GTA 6. If Rockstar does not contact me on Telegram within 24 hours, I will start releasing the source code, Kurtage announced to Rockstar after breaking into its internal messaging. Layoffs gained notoriety in the past for targeting major technology companies such as Uber, Nvidia, and Rockstar Games. The latest hack reportedly cost Rockstar Development $5 million to recover from. However, Kurtage's defense argued that the company wasn't affected by the leak, given the tremendous success the Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer achieved, even breaking YouTube views records. A 17-year-old from the same group was also convicted for the Nvidia and BTEE hack, at a trial taking place at Southwark Crown Court. While Kurtage faces his sentence, a 17-year-old hacker, also a Layoffs member, was found guilty in the same trial of stealing data from big companies and demanding a $4 million ransom. It remains unclear if there are more individuals responsible for the GTA 6 hacker attack. Despite mental health considerations, it is expected that Kurtage's sentence will prevent him from engaging in similar future cyber attacks, or maybe he'll be recruited by the Hidden Hand and I. Speaking of hacks, Ubisoft is investigating claims of a security breach following leaked screenshots of the publisher's internal software and tools. After Ubisoft's 2020 security breach, this incident possibly marks the third notable attempt at compromising the French publisher within 3 years. While the claim's veracity is yet to be verified, the potential security threat could still put Ubisoft in a tricky spot, especially in the coming days. Of course, it doesn't help that hackers have already targeted Ubisoft at least twice over the past few years. In 2020, the ransomware group Egregore leaked 560 gigabytes of source code for Watch Dogs Legion. Ubisoft experienced another security breach in 2022, which appeared to have disrupted some of its online games and services. Following the incident, the company stated that it rectified the issue and had taken precautionary measures. Now it appears that another attempt has been made at the French publisher. Recently, security research collective VX Underground tweeted screenshots claiming to be from Ubisoft's internal software. They claim to have gained access to the Ubisoft SharePoint server, Microsoft Teams, Confluence, and MongoDB Atlas panel on December 20th. The attacker reportedly had access for 48 hours before Ubisoft detected an issue and revoked their access, says VX Underground. Further claims indicate that the attempt was to steal 900 gigabytes of data, including Rainbow Six Siege user information, though unsuccessful. According to Bleeping Computer, Ubisoft is aware of the security breach claim and is currently investigating the matter. The Ubisoft incident comes merely 2 weeks after the massive Insomniac Games data breach, which I discussed in detail in my previous video. The ransomware group Resida leaked about 1.67 terabytes of data after the studio reportedly refused to pay a $2 million ransom. The leaked data included a plethora of content around the upcoming Marvel's Wolverine game along with other internal documentation such as development costs and Sony's plans for X-Men games. More importantly, sensitive personal information pertaining to Insomniac's employees was also made public as part of the data breach. While it appears that Ubisoft's incident may not be as troubling as Insomniac's, the threat has likely raised alarm bells at the company already. The publisher has a slate of promising games on the way, including several Assassin's Creed titles and an open-world Star Wars game from Massive Entertainment. Ubisoft's upcoming AAA projects make the company a prime target for cyber criminals, particularly given how ambitious cyber attacks have been over recent years. In any case, time will tell how far the alleged threat actors have gotten and if Ubisoft is in any real danger of its internal data being exposed. Bloober Team, the Polish game developer behind the upcoming Silent Hill 2 remake, has announced a new project that's just getting started in collaboration with Skybound Entertainment. The studio first drew attention with the 2016 release of Layers of Fear, a psychological horror game heavily inspired by PT, the playable teaser for the cancelled Silent Hills. In the years since, the company has released a steady stream of horror games: Observer, Layers of Fear 2, Blair Witch, and The Medium. Skybound, the entertainment company with which Bloober Team has announced its new project, was co-founded by The Walking Dead creator Robert Kirkman. It has branched into a range of media, from comics to television and films to video games. Skybound Games, its gaming subsidiary, focuses primarily on publishing indie titles but also helped develop the final 2 episodes of Telltale's The Walking Dead, the final season. Now, the two companies are teaming up for a new game project codenamed R, which is just starting up and is expected to premiere sometime in 2025. In the announcement from Bloober Team, the company revealed that it has signed a licensing and publishing agreement, which leads one to the conclusion that the new game will not be an original IP. Little else was revealed about the project, other than the fact that it may bring to bear Bloober's horror know-how. President Piotr Babieno stated, "I am sure that it will be a successful cooperation." In June 2023, Bloober Team stated that it is done creating psychological horror games after the Silent Hill 2 remake. The studio is actively transforming itself into version 3.0, which will be aimed at creating mass-market horror. Project R with Skybound definitely seems like a first step in that direction, and many people will likely speculate that the aforementioned licensing agreement may involve The Walking Dead somehow. Kirkman's The Walking Dead has experienced extreme popularity in the realms of comics and television shows, but Telltale is one of the few studios to successfully bring the post-apocalyptic world to video games. There have certainly been many attempts. Despite high sales, November's The Walking Dead Destinies became a meme on social media for the wrong reasons. And Ocean Interactive and Skybound Games halted development of and delisted the asymmetrical The Walking Dead Betrayal from Steam just 3 months after its launch. So, if The Walking Dead is the direction Bloober Team is headed with Project R, perhaps the zombie franchise will see a recreation to rival Telltale's. Starfield unveiled its plans for 2024, which include the addition of major quality-of-life improvements, new gameplay features, and its first story expansion. Starfield will receive updates roughly every 6 weeks in 2024, with its next major update coming sooner rather than later. Starfield finished as one of the most underwhelming games of 2023, thanks to many players' criticisms, and the game didn't reach the same level as previous Bethesda games. Surprisingly, it lacks some basic features such as in-game maps for cities, lack of land vehicles, fake space exploration, and lack of dialogue options and impacts. And some fans claim that its world feels rather empty once players sink through its surface. Fortunately, it seems that Bethesda has robust plans for Starfield's future, and plans to promptly address some of these issues. Bethesda's official Reddit account, Bethesda Game Studios, posted to the Starfield subreddit to explain its plans for 2024. Bethesda Bethesda detailed that Starfield's first major update in 2024 will be released in February, and the game will continue to receive updates every 6 weeks as the year progresses. Throughout 2024, fans can expect the addition of city maps, new ways to travel, new ship customization options, new difficulty options, official mod support, and the game's first story expansion, Shattered Space. The post also explained that Starfield will receive regular bug fixes and quality-of-life improvements, in addition to these new features. Some fans are hoping that these new difficulty options will include something akin to Fallout 4's survival mode, which makes the game much more challenging by tweaking various features like the quick save option, fast travel, and ammunition weight. Starfield's lack of city maps was one of the fan base's main complaints following the game's release. Some of Starfield's cities are dense, making it difficult for inexperienced players to find shops or other important locations without the help of a map. Fortunately, Bethesda seems to be on top of the issue, and its place at the top of the list on Bethesda's post might suggest that this feature will be released with the game's next major update in February. However, this is just speculation. Starfield's Shattered Space expansion is still shrouded in mystery. Based on Bethesda's expansion schedule in previous games, its release date is expected to be sometime in the first half of 2024. However, this has not been announced yet, although the post seems to confirm that it will release sometime next year. Nothing is known about the expansion's story so far. It could build on Starfield's multiple endings, or introduce a new storyline altogether. Starfield didn't live up to the hype it was promised, and hopefully the story expansions and quality of life improvements will make it a better experience. Following the success of the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Illumination is reportedly pitching Nintendo an Avengers-style Super Smash Bros. Film. Illumination, an animation studio under the Universal Studios umbrella, is the same team behind Mario's super successful 2023 feature film. The Super Mario Bros. Movie was a massive success at the box office, where it became the highest-grossing video game movie of all time. It's not just successful by video game adaptation standards either. The Super Mario Bros. Movie is simply one of the highest-grossing animated films ever made and Illumination's highest-grossing project to date. After the Super Mario Bros. Movie joined the billion-dollar club, it was only a matter of time before Nintendo followed up with another big-screen debut. The video game company went in a bit of a different direction, however, as Nintendo announced it was teaming up with Sony for a live-action Legend of Zelda movie. Still, that's just one iron in the fire for a company that is absolutely loaded with popular IP. Given the success of Nintendo and Illumination's partnership so far, it isn't hard to imagine that the two could team up for more animation projects in the future. Industry insider Daniel Rickman is reporting that Illumination has pitched an Avengers-style Super Smash Bros. Movie. Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, this project would feature several spin-off films from various other Nintendo personalities. The Super Mario Bros. Movie introduced characters like Bowser, Donkey Kong, Luigi, and Peach alongside Mario, but the roster still has plenty of spots to fill. It should be noted that Rickman's track record isn't perfect, but the film industry scooper has gotten plenty right in the past as well. At the moment, it is only being reported that Illumination has pitched the idea to Nintendo. So even if this is true, there is no word about whether Nintendo plans to greenlight these plans. Many studios have tried to emulate the MCU model in the past, and few have really stuck the landing. In fact, Universal famously set up the Dark Universe based on the studio's classic movie Monsters, but that idea was scrapped after just 2 films. Still, a Super Smash Bros. Feature is a Mario movie spin-off that makes a lot of sense. Again, Nintendo has an impressive library of IPs that are ripe for cinematic adventures. Kirby, Zelda, Metroid, and Fox are all beloved franchises with enough lore to support their own animated films. The Pokémon franchise alone has spawned dozens of film and TV series adaptations over the years. As Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is one of the Nintendo Switch's best-selling games, it certainly makes sense from a popularity standpoint. The hypothetical film could be a place to showcase not only Nintendo's popular IP but perhaps some characters from outside the big ones. Now, the possibility of this becoming real is very thin. Combining every world into a multiverse is a complicated task and could lead into catastrophe. If you ask me, I did rather have these worlds separate. Though gaming has been around since the 1970s, it's the 1990s and 2000s that are often credited with bringing about some of the most influential video games of all time. These games are usually credited with creating mechanics that have since become staples of the industry, creating now iconic characters, and even forging entire genres. The original Doom is certainly one such game, widely considered to be one of the most influential shooters of all time. Released on December 10, 1993, and developed by the now legendary ID Software, Doom revolutionized the first-person shooter genre, and heralded a lot of firsts for the gaming industry as a whole. Doom's influence on the entire gaming landscape cannot be understated, and 30 years later, its original arena shooting gameplay formula can still be seen in the DNA of video games releasing today. Back in 1992, ID Software released Wolfenstein 3D, its second game, and one that's widely considered to be the pioneer of the first-person shooter genre. Just 18 months later, ID Software released Doom, a game that revolutionized, popularized, and essentially made the first-person shooter genre what it is today. Despite video games having been widely available for a little over 2 decades at that point, Doom stood out for being a technical marvel. Through incredibly detailed enemy sprites, fluid weapon reload and shooting animations, and some truly revolutionary 3D technology, Doom was well ahead of its time. As if its extreme success wasn't enough to sell the game, Doom was also distributed via shareware. This meant that fans could copy and share Doom with all their friends, letting everyone play the first episode for free. In doing this, Doom managed to reach an incredibly wide audience, and quickly became a phenomenon in Western gaming. It didn't take long, borrowing Doom's general gameplay formula and 3D first-person design. The best of these Doom clones weren't just carbon copies of ID's original arena shooter. Instead, adding a handful of unique features and tweaking the formula to best suit a new context or narrative. Over time, these Doom-inspired franchises simply became known as first-person shooters, and just like that, a new video game genre was born. Despite being 30 years old, Doom's arena shooting gameplay formula can still be seen in a ton of video games today, albeit with its fair share of tweaks and changes. The biggest and best example of this is, obviously, the rebooted Doom series, beginning with Doom 2016 and continuing with Doom Eternal in 2020. While color-coded keycards may not be present, Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal's gameplay loops are essentially modernized versions of the original Doom formula. With levels throwing players into a number of enemy encounters, each one forcing the player to eliminate every enemy inside an arena before they can proceed. It isn't just the Doom reboot series that carries the 1993 original's torch. Machine Games' Wolfenstein series is also clearly inspired by the original Doom formula, locking players inside arenas and throwing waves of enemies at them. The most recent example of Doom's gameplay loop in a modern game is Ascendant Studios' Immortals of Aveum, which puts a magical fantasy spin on Doom's 30-year-old arena shooting gameplay. It may not be immediately obvious, but Doom's DNA still runs through the entire first-person shooter genre, and it remains one of the most influential games of all time. I don't like comparing one game to another, I want each and every experience to stand on its own legs. That's why I won't say this like or that like to compare. Here I'm presenting just an inspiration from Doom, and the need to state its influence for the 30th anniversary. Happy 30th anniversary to Doom, one of my all-time favorites. Grand Theft Auto 6 fans believe they may have discovered a copy of Vice City's map in the game's official image, and one gamer took a step further in analyzing this possible discovery. Ever since official information about Rockstar's next game started to come out, fans have been obsessing about all GTA 6 details, and they may be on to something in this case. The release of the first official GTA 6 trailer marked an important point for fans of the franchise. With over 150 million views at the moment, the GTA 6 trailer became the most viewed game reveal ever on YouTube, and sparked a lot of debate about the upcoming title. However, despite all the information in the trailer, some fans are still obsessing about the game's official image and extracting every single bit of information from there. Now, one fan called Nick Tech Official has decided to analyze one of the hottest topics among fans, whether the GTA 6 official artwork has the Vice City map on it or not. The discourse started a few days ago when some fans found a very small poster on the right side of the image, and claimed it was the Vice City map. However, Nick Tech Official was the first to actually go in depth to investigate, upscaling the image and then using a program to zoom in and change the background colors to improve its visibility. The gamer found the poster and then compared it to a leaked map of Vice City, finding some similarities between the two images. This is not the only interesting theory that GTA 6 fans have at the moment, though. Some fans have recently speculated that Lucia's story was told in reverse in GTA SX's trailer. By analyzing the official artwork and noticing the ankle monitor Lucia uses in it, and then reverting the order of the images in the trailer. These fans believe that instead of getting out of jail and then meeting the other protagonist, Lucia could have been involved with him from the start and then being arrested. It's a theory that has interesting ramifications, as it could mean that Lucia will have her movement restricted at the beginning of the game. A former Obsidian writer revealed that a Fallout New Vegas-like sequel was considered for The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Fallout New Vegas was released in between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and allowed players to continue enjoying the Fallout universe while waiting for the series' next flagship release. Skyrim was released over 12 years ago, and it looks like The Elder Scrolls 6 is still at least 5 years away. Although The Elder Scrolls Online has released in the meantime, fans of Bethesda's classic, fantasy RPG series have been left hanging for well over a decade. Chris Avellone, a former writer and co-founder at Obsidian, explained that he pitched the idea of a Fallout New Vegas-style sequel to Bethesda's The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. It would have served the same purpose as Obsidian's popular Fallout game, by providing players with additional adventures in the Elder Scrolls universe, without departing too much from Bethesda's core gameplay and presentation. However, Bethesda shot this idea down and it apparently never gained much traction. Avellone further explained that he took some inspiration from the massive success of Call of Duty at the time, which released, and continues to release, a new game every year. The idea was for Bethesda to develop core releases, while Obsidian would develop follow-up titles set in similar settings. This would have helped alleviate the long gaps between Bethesda's main releases. By the time The Elder Scrolls 6 releases, 15 years or more may have passed since the release of The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Fallout New Vegas bridged a 7-year wait between Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, and was so popular that Fallout New Vegas is the favorite game of many Fallout fans to this day. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, the new 2D platformer title from Ubisoft, has announced that it's gone gold ahead of its January 2024 release date. First revealed at Ubisoft's 2023 Summer Game Fest showcase, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown wowed fans of the long-dormant franchise and 2D action platformer fans alike. Ubisoft Montpellier, the French studio behind Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, seems like a perfect fit for the 2D platformer. One of Ubisoft's smaller divisions, Montpellier is responsible for titles in the past such as the more recent Rayman games and Valiant Hearts: The Great War. With Ubisoft Mumbai and Ubisoft's Pune's Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time remake having been delayed indefinitely, Montpellier's The Lost Crown seems like a more than solid pit stop as Prince of Persia fans sit tight for the long-awaited remake. Now, in the final few weeks of 2023, the official Prince of Persia Twitter account has confirmed that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown has gone gold and is ready for its January 18th release date, which is just around the corner. Accompanying this gold announcement was a 30-second sizzle trailer featuring snippets of The Lost Crown's protagonist Sargon alongside his Immortals clan spliced with some story beats. Usually, gold announcement tweets only feature a single image, usually incorporating a gold disc icon. It's nice to see Ubisoft giving Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown some extra love for its gold announcement with this snappy sizzler. As the first game from a major publisher being released in 2024, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown will be kicking off the next year of video game releases, leading the way for Like a Dragon: Infinite Wealth, Tekken 8 and so on to follow suit in January and February. Judging by The Lost Crown's thrilling 2D action platformer gameplay, the title seems poised to become my first favorite game of the year of 2024. James McCaffrey, best known for his leading performances in the Max Payne trilogy, has died at 65 from cancer. While the actor was renowned within the world of gaming thanks to Max Payne, he also had a storied career in television and film, and was prized for his inimitable persona and penchant for playing gruff, masculine leads. A longtime staple in many Remedy Entertainment titles, McCaffrey starred not only as Max Payne, but also as Alex Casey in Alan Wake 2 and Zachariah Trench in Control. His instantly recognizable voice made him famous among gaming enthusiasts, and he also made a name for himself on TV, where he starred as Jimmy Keefe in Rescue Me and featuring in numerous other programs, including Law and Order SVU and Blue Bloods. McCaffrey's career extended to film as well, where he turned out notable performances in movies like 1994's Viper. McCaffrey passed away on December 17, 2023 from multiple myeloma. A representative for the actor issued a statement announcing his unfortunate passing and praising McCaffrey's commitment to character building. One of Dick Wolf's protégés, McCaffrey went on to a successful 35-year career in television and film. Trained at the Actors Studio, he never lost his love for creating characters. However, his good looks often pushed him toward leading man roles. McCaffrey is survived by his wife and daughter. McCaffrey may not have been as prolific in the gaming sphere as some other actors, but his impact on the industry was immeasurable. When Rockstar acquired the rights to the Max Payne franchise and developed Max Payne 3 without Remedy, McCaffrey still reprised his role as the titular character, proving himself to be crucial to the essence of the franchise. While he would not play a protagonist in Control or Alan Wake 2, his performances were nonetheless memorable and key to the identity of those titles. Following news of his passing, Remedy eulogized the actor on social media. "We are deeply saddened to hear about the passing of our beloved friend and collaborator James McCaffrey, the iconic voice of Max Payne and Alex Casey. His remarkable talent gave life to our characters and left an enduring impact on our community. Our hearts go out to his family," said the game development studio. Indeed, the Max Payne franchise would likely not have been as influential or significant without him. It's possible that fans will hear McCaffrey's voice once more in the upcoming Max Payne remakes, which will hopefully serve as a moving tribute to the beloved actor. A24 and Kojima Productions, led by Hideo Kojima, have announced that they will be teaming up to produce a live-action Death Stranding movie. Death Stranding was released in 2019, and in November 2022 the director's cut version. In the announcement, Kojima said, "A24 was born into this world about 10 years ago, their presence is singular within the industry, they are like no other. The films they are delivering to the world are high in quality and very innovative. I have been attracted to their creations, and they have even inspired my own work. Their innovative approach to storytelling aligns with what Kojima Productions has been doing for the last 8 years. Now, we are making a Death Stranding movie together." Last year, it was reported that Kojima Productions and Hammerstone Studios would develop and produce the movie. It's unknown if that has changed with the A24 collaboration. Kojima Productions has been preparing to expand its media offerings as it launched a division dedicated to music, TV, and film in 2021. While a film is underway for Death Stranding, the game's sequel was announced in December 2022 during the Game Awards. Electronic Arts announced a rebranding for Frostbite, its internal game development engine. It's the first new logo for the tech in nearly a decade. Speaking with GamesIndustry.biz about the rebranding, EA's Frostbite GM Tim Cowan addressed the question of why an internal game engine needs a public-facing brand in the first place. Frostbite's had a long history of being a public brand, Cowan says. It's something our gamers know about. I think you see in a lot of cases where when you're talking about a game, you also talk about the technology that powers those games. And Frostbite is something we believe is unique. It has unique capabilities, and the technology powering those games is going to help us build unique experiences that gamers are going to really like. Beyond giving players an idea of what to expect from games built with Frostbite, Cowan acknowledges there's a recruiting angle to it as well. He believes there is an appeal for developers to work with an engine focused on making games instead of one that does double duty, being used for movie production or as its own business licensed externally to other companies. Cowan also says it's an attractive opportunity to work on an engine team that truly understands what a game's development team is trying to achieve, creating a level of partnership, support, and collaboration that knows no boundaries. We can bend this engine to our will and make it do the things we need it to do. We fundamentally feel like we get a ton of value out of that aspect of an internal engine. We can direct it and take it where we need to take it for our games, and we can move fast and quickly without any boundaries on that front. While Cowan emphasizes Frostbite's flexibility, he acknowledges that wasn't always the case for either the engine or EA in general. The roots of Frostbite came out of DICE, which was building it around the needs of its Battlefield series of shooters. Over time, it expanded to be used in other EA titles like the Need for Speed series, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare, and Dragon Age Inquisition. And now the company has built it into a more general-purpose option for developers. In fact, EA believed Frostbite to be so flexible that around 2015, it decided to go all in on Frostbite and pushed to get all of its games on the engine. That push didn't go as planned though. Building games is hard, Cowan says. Changing engines is hard, regardless of the engine. So we stepped back and looked at that. We really believe that game teams will make the best games when they really have the ability to use the best tools and technology. We acknowledge that games are unique, they have unique cases. So let's let developers have the power to make the choice for what's best for them. Cowan says it's still widely used within the company. This year alone saw new releases Dead Space, PGA Tour, and UFC 5 among the franchises releasing on the engine for the first time, but EA has become a bit less dogmatic about Frostbite use. We don't need to force all games to use it, he says. They can look at what makes sense for their game. It could be another internal engine. We have a lot of other internal engines still at EA today. You might look at Unreal or Unity. He adds, we don't aspire today to be the engine for everyone. There was definitely a period of time where we had a one-engine strategy where we were very intentionally trying to get all of EA's games onto one engine. We are not doing that today. What we're trying to do is make it the best engine for the games that are using it. It's over for Windows Mixed Reality. In an update to a list of deprecated Windows features, Microsoft added Windows Mixed Reality, along with the accompanying Mixed Reality Portal app and Windows Mixed Reality for Steam VR. The company says Windows Mixed Reality is deprecated and will be removed in a future release of Windows. Microsoft first introduced Windows Mixed Reality in 2017 as part of its bid to compete with virtual reality rivals like HTC and Oculus, now owned by Meta. Windows Mixed Reality served as a portal to games, apps, and other experiences within the VR space. In addition to the Microsoft HoloLens, other companies, including Acer, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, HP, and Samsung, made mixed reality headsets compatible with Microsoft's platform. It doesn't look like the enterprise-focused HoloLens 2 is going anywhere for now, though, as Microsoft added a free Windows 11 upgrade and several other improvements for the $3,500 headset earlier this year. Microsoft has been gradually downsizing its VR division. HoloLens boss Alex Kipman left last year over allegations of sexual misconduct, and the company later cut 10,000 jobs, many of which affected the workers behind Microsoft's mixed reality projects, including the now discontinued AltSpace VR app. Despite this, Microsoft continues to focus on other applications of VR, such as its Microsoft Mesh app that will soon let coworkers meet in a virtual space without a headset. It also started letting Quest users access Office apps and its Xbox Cloud gaming platform through a partnership with Meta. Mixed Reality was launched in 2017 in a Windows 10 update. It was a platform for games, apps, and other virtual reality experiences. Microsoft has released mixed reality headsets such as the Microsoft HoloLens, the Microsoft HoloLens 2, and VR HP Reverb G2. Last year, Business Insider reported that the tech giant pulled the plug on its plan for a HoloLens 3. It also said that no unified strategy hobbled the mixed reality team's plan. Speaking of VR, in a fun and unusual update, Meta Quest Pro headsets now support tongue tracking. While the addition might sound a bit bizarre, the Meta Quest headsets previously haven't been able to track tongue movement, limiting player expressiveness in apps like VRChat. The update expands upon the hardware's head, eye, and hand tracking capabilities within the Meta Quest Pro. Despite the Meta Quest 3 being the newer piece of hardware, the update is currently only offered for the Meta Quest Pro headset. While Meta Quest 3 reviews have largely praised the hardware, calling it one of the best VR headset currently available, the Meta Quest Pro has carved out a niche as a piece of premium mixed reality technology for creative collaborators. Because of this, the Meta Quest Pro largely focuses on body and face tracking to make meetings more immersive. In an effort to make collaboration within VR seem more natural, a Meta Quest Pro update has added support for tongue tracking. ALVR developer Kojima has even taken to social media to showcase the new technology. As fun as the update is, support for this feature within various apps is currently lacking. Tongue tracking isn't currently available for Meta avatars, and the Quest version of VRChat doesn't yet support the update either. However, various workarounds such as using Steam Link or Virtual Desktop allow for tongue tracking in VRChat. Still, most apps and games have yet to support any sort of form of face tracking or body tracking. The Quest 2 is officially the budget option for those interested in VR, while the Quest 3 is seen as the best all-around headset. As the most expensive headset of the bunch, the Meta Quest Pro received a massive price drop after retailing for $1,500. The past few weeks have been an exciting time for VR gamers as Asgard's Wrath 2 launched exclusively on Meta Quest headsets. Overall, gamers have praised the expansiveness of the experience, calling it the killer app that Quest owners have been waiting for. Speaking of innovations, Sony has filed for patents that aim to provide an immersive experience to AR and VR users who have limited space. The patents are for two kinds of foot controllers, one uses a ball and the other uses a touch-sensitive surface. The trackball concept uses two units with ball-shaped controllers that might have a built-in CPU and memory to capture users' movement and mimic it in the game. As one can imagine, this controller seems to be for simple movements. The other patent is for a bowl-shaped controller that features a touch-sensitive surface. The foot controller seems to have a curved surface that is supposed to be used with both feet. Further, as per the patent, this controller is for more complex movements, like, for instance, the user can sense the proximity to an in-game object. Sony had filed these patents back in June 2022, and the designs were published a few days ago. The brand specified that the controllers can be used with PC, phone, tablet, consoles, and other devices. With that being said, it is not known yet if Sony plans to launch foot controllers anytime soon. VR game studio First Contact Entertainment has announced that it is shutting down operations at the end of 2023. This news comes amid the fact that they had recently released a game for the PlayStation VR 2 platform and announced another upcoming one currently in development. Established in 2015, First Contact Entertainment has become known for producing games in the burgeoning VR space, releasing on platforms such as the PlayStation VR 2, its predecessor, as well as the Oculus Quest. First Contact was founded in 2016 by a group of ex-Starbreeze developers. It raised $5 million in an investment round soon after. First Contact prides itself as a studio at the forefront of VR development, having released titles such as Firewall 0 Hour, Firewall Ultra, and Solaris Off-World Combat. First Contact had suddenly announced its closing in a message posted on December 21st, despite having just released Firewall Ultra back in August and recently revealing the sequel to Solaris. In its announcement, the company directly blames the lack of growth and stability in VR gaming for its demise, admitting that it doesn't get enough support from gamers to justify the expenses it's making on development. In August, First Contact launched Firewall Ultra for PlayStation VR 2, a follow-up to 2018's Firewall 0 Hour. Earlier this year, it was announced the studio was working on a VR multiplayer first-person shooter titled Solaris Off-World Combat 2. Other than the fact that it is a different experience that may not be made for everyone, the entry cost to get into can be quite prohibitive, with some VR headsets costing almost as much as a brand new console, an expense some gamers just can't justify. Even though a few VR titles do great like Half-Life Alyx and Beat Saber, some do not make the expected mark. And despite the limitations of the space, the quality of VR gaming is also steadily on the rise. The newly released and highly acclaimed Asgard's Wrath 2 is shaping up to be a major must-have for action RPG fans who want something truly immersive. If bigger studios with more stable cash flows can keep feeding the niche, and the tech becomes more accessible, perhaps there will be fewer stories like First Contact's in the future. Speaking of Shutdowns, Versus Evil, the indie gaming publisher behind the Banner Saga, has officially shuttered its doors after laying off all of its staff. The 13 members of the Versus Evil team were let go days before Christmas, and are the latest victims of the rampant layoffs of 2023. Versus Evil was a small publishing company founded in 2013 with a focus on independent studios. Versus Evil was founded in 2013 and acquired by TinyBuild and its QA studio Red Cerberus in 2021. Earlier this month, tinyBuild reported that it would miss its revenue forecast. It is most well known for Stoic Studios' The Banner Saga, though it went on to publish over 24 other games, including big titles like Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. In 2021, Versus Evil was bought by tinyBuild, another indie game publisher. Versus Evil has announced its doors have officially closed. The indie publisher announced the shuttering on its official Twitter account, but former Versus Evil developer Francis Fink confirmed on LinkedIn he and the other 12 publishers were let go right as their Christmas break was beginning, confirming tinyBuild did not retain any of its staff after the company's closure. Steve Escalante, the founder of Versus Evil, left the company about 2 weeks before its closure. He also commented on his former company's demise on his personal Twitter, saying it will continue to exist under tinyBuild's management, in spite of Versus Evil's statement. However, considering neither he nor the original staff are still there, tinyBuild's version of the company will only be using the brand. It remains to be seen what will happen with unreleased games that were being published by Versus Evil, but hopefully tinyBuild or one of its studios can ensure these indie games are released without incident. tinyBuild itself has also seen success recently, with a $2 million investment by gaming giant Atari, and it plans to raise $14 million in new stocks through their partnership. The parent company was not struggling financially, so the reason for these staff members being let go right before the holidays is currently a mystery. At the same time, tinyBuild announced that it had settled a legal dispute with Versus Evil's former owner Stallproof LLC, as well as general manager Steve Escalante and head of production James. The trio had alleged that tinyBuild breached a number of its obligations as part of the purchased agreement, specifically around releasing promised funds to the indie publisher and providing material support. tinyBuild paid $3.5 million and legal costs to settle the claims, and Escalante announced he would be leaving the company shortly after. At press time, neither tinyBuild nor CEO Alex Nichiporchik has made an official statement on the situation after announcing the Atari deal. So fans of Versus Evil's work should keep an eye out to see if a reason is given for the company's closure over the coming weeks. Despite the rampant success of gaming over the course of 2023, it is clear the industry is anything but secure for developers right now. With the closure of the studio behind the Timesplitters series, former Free Radical Design employees and developers have posted some concept art for the seemingly cancelled reboot. 2.5 years ago, Free Radical Design announced a new game in the cult classic third-person shooter series had entered development after the studio was bought out by the Embracer Group. However, due to the parent company's mismanaged business deals, Free Radical ended up being one of many companies that were closed by the Embracer Group. According to the Embracer Group, the closure of these many studios was part of a company-wide cost-saving measure, which resulted in several layoffs. The Timesplitters studio officially shut down earlier this December, with several artists and developers confirming they were already let go before an official statement was made. With Free Radical Design's closure, former developers have been posting assets of the Timesplitters reboot that they were working on online. The assets for this cancelled Timesplitters reboot were posted to various artists' ArtStation pages as well as Twitter, while some were also archived on the community-maintained Free Radical wiki. These include concept art for various characters, NPCs, and locations, along with items that were made to be used for the game's maps. Some of these character assets got far enough in development that 3D models were made, such as a bosom barmaid from a Western-style setting, a cybernetic old man, and so much more. Many fans were both happy and sad that the developers were able to share what they were working on before Free Radical was closed down. Some were happy to see the art assets had survived in some way, especially for preservation purposes. While others including me were incredibly saddened that Free Radical's closure meant this game would likely never happen now. Many of the fans were extremely supportive of the former developers, hoping they'd be able to find work elsewhere after being let go. 2023 saw plenty of layoffs and shutdowns in the gaming industry this year, with the Embracer Group having laid off at least 900 people since June, and recently reaching possibly 1,000. This Timesplitters reboot is one of many things lost after the closure of Free Radical by the Embracer Group. Saber Interactive subsidiary New World Interactive has experienced layoffs, affected by Embracer's ongoing restructuring program. As reported by Insider Gaming, it was first believed that the entire studio had been shut down. Saber Interactive has since described this as a restructure. This reorganization has unfortunately resulted in layoffs at the studio, the company said. We are working to fill existing open roles within Saber with individuals affected by these changes wherever feasible, and we will be providing severance packages to those employees impacted. Saber Interactive added that development on Insurgency Sandstorm and future unannounced projects would continue. It's unclear how many workers have been laid off at the studio, though a public post on LinkedIn shared by Second Wind's Nick Calandra suggested that most of the team on a cancelled project had been affected. The news comes after Embracer recently shut down Timesplitters developer Free Radical Design and downsized Fish Labs by 50 roles. 3D Realms and Slipgate Ironworks, two Danish developers owned by an Embracer Group subsidiary, have been hit with layoffs. The workforce cutbacks are just the latest in a long string of cost-cutting efforts at Embracer, which most recently resulted in Timesplitters developer Free Radical Design shutting down. Founded in the late 80s as Apogee Software Productions, 3D Realms Entertainment is best known as the creator of the Duke Nukem franchise. While it was originally a Texan company, it was acquired by Denmark-based Slipgate Ironworks, then called Interceptor Entertainment, and relaunched under its current name in 2014 following a period of financial difficulties stemming from its inability to complete Duke Nukem Forever. 3D Realms and the rest of Slipgate Ironworks were acquired by Embracer subsidiary Saber Interactive in summer 2021, together with 5 other companies. 2.5 years later, the companies are being hit with major layoffs. That's according to 3D Realms founder Scott Miller, who has recently taken to Twitter to reveal that many people from his former studio will be momentarily out of a job due to the latest wave of cutbacks at Embracer. As for the extent of this purported workforce reduction, the industry veteran said that at least half of Slipgate and 3D Realms staffers will see their roles eliminated as part of the move. Another corroborating report on the matter comes from 3D Realms lead composer Michael Markey. For Christmas this year, I got laid off, Markey wrote in a December 14 tweet, asking anyone potentially looking for a level or audio designer to contact him. The aforementioned tweet from Miller saw the 3D Realms founder reveal that his current company, Apogee Entertainment, will be looking to hire at least 2 or 3 people from the laid-off staff. Based on publicly available data and Embracer's financial disclosures, the whole of Slipgate Ironworks had under 200 employees as of mid-2023. Between that and Miller's insight into the current ordeal, the December layoffs have ostensibly affected dozens of people. It remains to be seen how this seemingly significant workforce reduction will affect Slipgate's existing projects, like the real-time strategy Tempest Rising, which is set to release in 2024. Back when it first announced its large-scale cost-cutting efforts, Embracer said it would be canceling multiple games and close a number of studios as part of the initiative. However, it also stated that the restructuring would be completed by October, which apparently hasn't come to pass if more people are still losing their jobs 2 months later. With this latest round of cutbacks, Embracer has laid off approximately 1,000 people in the second half of 2023. Larian Studios CEO Sven Vink has recently revealed that almost all the people who were in the original meeting when Baldur's Gate 3 was approved are no longer working at Wizards of the Coast after the recent layoffs. Considering how positive the Baldur's Gate 3 receptions were, this is very sad news for Dungeons & Dragons fans. Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the biggest hits of 2023, surprising even its creators with so many glowing reviews and a high player count. Now, Larian CEO Sven Vink shared the speak he planned to make at the Game Awards ceremony, which was cut short during the event. Aside from thanking the staff and fans, Vink commented on the recent Hasbro layoffs, in which over 1,000 people were fired, including employees from Wizards of the Coast, which manages the Dungeons & Dragons brand. Vink said that he was sorry to learn that almost everyone who was in the original meeting that greenlight Baldur's Gate 3 had left the company by now. While the Baldur's Gate 3 creator did not specify any names of people who were fired recently, it's already known that several people who worked on the D&D team were let go earlier this week, including even some foundational names who worked on Dungeons & Dragons 5e. The list includes people like Mike Merles, known as one of the co-creators of Dungeons & Dragons 5e, as well as Brianna Heiss, who worked as the head of publishing and licensing at the company for 28 years, as well as several artists and designers. Overall, 2023 has been a mixed year for the gaming industry. While some excellent games were released this year, many companies suffered layoffs, and Hasbro is just the latest of many businesses in the entertainment sector to be hit. For example, Unity announced 4 layoffs in 17 months, cutting over 250 workers recently. Other companies that laid off employees this year include CD Projekt Red, Electronic Arts, Take-Two Interactive, Team 17, Riot Games, and BioWare, which together have laid off thousands from their staff. Zelda series producer Eiji Aonuma comments that the next game in the franchise is likely not going to be a direct sequel to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. The long-awaited sequel to Breath of the Wild was released to acclaim earlier this year, being a significant improvement in the gameplay department while also following up on some of the plot threads that were laid out in the previous entry. With Tears of the Kingdom out now, there have been some fans who wonder if the game could be built upon further, either through DLC or another sequel to make it a trilogy. Fans shouldn't hold their breath for Tears of the Kingdom DLC, as series producer Eiji Aonuma stated that the developers wouldn't be making any. According to Aonuma, there are no plans to release additional content, stating that they had done everything they could to make this world and version of Hyrule as fun as possible. While the producer did previously state that a third game isn't entirely out of the question, it would be pretty unlikely. That unlikeliness seems to be solidified further based on Aonuma's recent comments. In a recent interview with Game Informer, Aonuma was asked if there would be a direct sequel to Tears of the Kingdom since the developers had accomplished everything that they wanted to do and no DLC is currently planned. Aonuma simply laughed, stating that would make a sequel of a sequel, calling the idea wild as well. He then reiterated that since the team was already building upon Breath of the Wild through Tears of the Kingdom, they were looking to push its gameplay to the very limit. Tears of the Kingdom, we were seeking to build on top of the world we created with Breath of the Wild and really exhaust the possibilities of what we could put into that world, Aonuma stated. I think it is, to use a bit of a term, an apotheosis, or the final form of that version of The Legend of Zelda. In that regard, I don't think that we'll be making a direct sequel to a world such as that we've created, he adds. While a direct sequel is out of the question, Aonuma was asked if Tears of the Kingdom's Ultra Hand ability could make a return in future games, given how integral it was to the gameplay. He noted that since the Ultra Hand was something that allowed players to create whatever they wanted, it provided a content-rich experience, which also contributed to the decision to not make DLC for the game. Hidemaru Fujibayashi, the director of the game, also chimed in, stating that the Ultra Hand was such an integral part of Tears of the Kingdom that bringing it back in future games would devalue it, stating it would feel like, we're just bringing in Tears of the Kingdom as is. As a result, both Aonuma and Fujibayashi state it's unlikely the Ultra Hand will make a comeback in future Zelda games either. In an interview with IGN that took place before the Game Awards 2023, Aonuma was asked about Zelda's role in Tears of the Kingdom and its potential to grow further from there. Aonuma commented on how despite the name of the series being The Legend of Zelda, it always had Link as the main character. He admitted that there's room to expand on her and make Zelda playable. I think there's always room for thinking about this type of thing and Zelda's role. And there may be some sort of possibility for something like that in the future, Aonuma said. Playable incarnations of Princess Zelda have existed before, though they have been in spin-offs like Hyrule Warriors, Super Smash Bros., and Cadence of Hyrule, all of which are non-canon. The closest players have gotten to a playable Zelda in a mainline game would be in Spirit Tracks, with players being able to control Zelda's spirit and have her possess phantoms in order to have her assist Link in sealing the Great Demon King Miletus. In an interview with Polygon, the series producer was asked if the emphasis on creativity in Tears of the Kingdom would lead to a Mario Maker-esque game that allowed players to create their own dungeons and levels, to which Aonuma said no. Through his interpreter, Aonuma states that the emphasis on creativity shouldn't be a requirement, but rather something that is encouraged through the game's design. I think it's important that we don't make creativity a requirement, says Aonuma to Polygon. Instead, we put things into the game that encourage people to be creative, and give them the opportunity to be creative, without forcing them to. While Tears of the Kingdom had stretched the creative limits in allowing fans to solve puzzles, the developers had expanded on what was previously possible in Breath of the Wild. When directly asked if there would be a Zelda-themed Mario Maker level creating game, Aonuma states that while there might be fans who want the ability to create from scratch, that isn't likely to appeal to everyone. He instead believes that the enjoyment comes from the ability to discover their own way to progress, which Tears of the Kingdom provided multiple routes. This producer guy did a lot of interviews in the recent past, and these are some insights from them. Atlus has announced that the Persona 5 subseries of games has collectively sold over 10 million units worldwide. The Persona series has been a huge hit for Atlus in the past few years, with Persona 5 helping cement it as a quintessential modern JRPG classic. Persona 5 in particular has been getting a lot of love from the studio, between the multiple collaborations with other games, multi-platform ports of its updated re-release Persona 5 Royal in 2022, and a few spin-offs based on the fifth mainline entry. Thanks to this focus, Persona 5 itself has become a mini subseries in Atlus library. Ever since Persona 5's 2017 release, it has seen 3 spin-off games based on its world. This includes Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, Persona 5 Strikers, and Persona 5 Tactica. Persona 5 Tactica was released earlier this November, being a tactics-based strategy RPG involving the Phantom Thieves in a brand new world. 2019's Persona 5 Royal is also considered a part of this series as well, according to Atlus. With these sales numbers put together, it has crossed a big sales target. A post on Atlus website and a tweet on the official Persona series Twitter account reveals that the combined sales of the Persona 5 series have seen it cross 10 million copies sold worldwide. Atlus previously revealed the last recorded Persona franchise sales figures, with 7.22 million units of the subseries being sold worldwide by the end of March 2022. That is an increase in sales for the subseries by almost 3 million units between March 2022 and December 2023. To celebrate this new milestone, Persona 5 character designer Shigenori Soejima drew a big "thank you" illustration for fans, which featured both Joker and Morgana simply saying thank you to everyone who had been supporting the series. On top of that, the remastered port of Persona 5 Royal is getting a discount on the Nintendo Store, though this only applies to Japan. A sale on the PlayStation and Steam stores is also planned according to the associated tweet. Despite Persona 6 being on the horizon, it's unlikely Persona 5 will stop getting spin-off games, considering the game's popularity. Persona 5 The Phantom X, for example, is a China-exclusive mobile game that will be released in the region, along with there being rumors of a party game spin-off that features the P5 cast. In terms of other Persona franchise releases, Atlus is gearing up for the launch of Persona 3 Reload, a remake of the acclaimed third entry, which features remade graphics and streamlined battle mechanics that take after Persona 5 as well. And the long-awaited Persona 6 and the new IP Metaphor ReFantazio. Sega and Ryu-ga Gotoku Studio have announced that Yakuza Like a Dragon has sold 1.8 million copies worldwide. In terms of sales, the action RPG moved 400,000 in its native Japan and sold an additional 1.4 million overseas, which is impressive considering at one point the franchise barely made a dent in the US and Europe. Yakuza Like a Dragon is also a major turning point for the series, as it ditches the arcade brawling for street fights and replaces it with turn-based combat similar to a JRPG. Speaking of sales, Human Fall Flat ships 50M units. The puzzle platformer originally launched back in 2016. Curve Games and No Breaks Games announced that Human Fall Flat, the popular multiplayer platformer, has now sold over 50 million copies across the globe. And that's all for the video, ladies and gentlemen. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.